This episode of State of the State Parks is sponsored by audiobooks.com. State of the State Parks listeners get their first month free and not one, but 3 free books. Thinking about making a switch? Go to audiobooks.com/SOSP and click to join. There it goes.
I've seen that.
What do bees do when a fire happens? I'm sure they just fly away.
It's the State of the State Parks podcast with Chris and Mo.
Hello, friends. We are back for part 2 of our native bee search in Chino Hills State Park, which, for those of you looking on a map, it's nestled about 38 miles southeast of downtown Los Angeles.
When we left you last, we had turned back on our walk and headed back to the pollinator garden to find some native California bees.
In this episode, we will chat with Leif about how many native bee species there are in California.
We'll also talk about a really fun word we learned called sonification.
We will also talk about native bees and their relationships with native plants.
So much to get into today, and we may or may not snag a few bees with Leif's huge nets.
Before we pick back up on our walk, I think we should do some history on the Xerces Society for Invertebrate Conservation, the world's leading force for invertebrate conservation. Founded in 1971 by butterfly champion Robert Michael Pyle. A studying Fulbright scholarship in Britain led him to become aware of butterflies' dwindling populations. Upon his return to the U.S., he learned of a San Francisco butterfly in a similar predicament. The Xerces blue, Glaucopsyche xerces, had last been seen in 1941 and 1943 on the land that is now part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area.
In the early 1980s, Bob and the Xerces board of directors realized that butterflies were not the only invertebrates that needed conservation attention. They also realized that the organization needed paid staff. Through the 1980s and 90s, the staff remained small, no more than a half a dozen, but they undertook groundbreaking work, and they were the pioneers in 2 issues that are now so prominent: monarch butterflies and pollinator conservation. Publications continued to be produced. Wings, their color magazine, was a smash hit, and they also published their first butterfly gardening book.
The Xerces Society is now the largest invertebrate conservation organization in the world and has the largest pollinator conservation effort of any nonprofit. Their conservation reach extends across North America, and with the help of partners, they now have a global presence. Xerces has become internationally respected for its work and is a trusted source for science-based information and advice. Their team draws together experts from the fields of conservation biology, entomology, habitat restoration, plant ecology, pesticides, farming, education, and community engagement with a single passion: protecting the life that sustains us.
To get more information about how you can take part or volunteer, go to Xerces.org. That's Xerces.org, and click Get Involved at the top of the page. Okay, picking back up on our walk where Leif continues to expand our bee knowledge.
Most of the bumblebees, they make their nests underground, and they cannot dig their own underground cavity. They can enlarge it a little or change the tunnels a bit, but they need a pre-existing hole. And the main place that they nest is in rodent burrows the year after the rodent stopped living there. Some of them will nest on the surface of the ground in grass like this or vegetation like this that will grow up and kind of cover up the nest. Those guys are really susceptible to disturbance from trampling or mowing or driving. And some will nest in trees or above ground in various places. But below ground in a rodent burrow is the place that bumblebees usually nest.
Ooh, hey, Chris, check this out.
Wait, what am I looking at here?
You've seen this one before.
Is that what I think it is?
Yup.
Oh, it's our new Patreon page with 3 fun tiers to join.
More State of the State Parks action?
Yup.
Where can they sign up?
www.patreon.com/State of the State Parks.
Whoa, cool.
Do
all
research.
bees follow the same males die off, queen is the only one left over the winter?
Bumblebees are like that. They're social animals with an annual cycle. So honeybees are social animals with a perennial cycle. The queen can live for years. And the reason they make honey and store pollen is to get through wintertime. So when there's nothing for flowering, they can still have 20,000 individuals in the nest and be just fine because they're eating these stored resources. Bumblebees are annuals, which means that in the springtime the queen starts the nest, and then it grows, it reproduces, and then in the summer or fall, the female and male reproductives find each other and mate, and then all the other bees die, except for the mated queens who hibernate until the next year. But virtually all of the other bees, well, the vast majority of our bees are solitary, not social. And so after mating, the female goes and does everything else. She excavates a nest underground, lays an egg, brings in food, closes it up, does all the different stuff. She does not meet her offspring. It's not a social interaction. She dies before the offspring come out in most cases. So that's the norm for bees, is living solitarily, sometimes in clusters or aggregations, but each nest is individual and there's no connection and there's not a lot of communication between the various moms. So the way that bumblebees do it and honeybees do it is atypical.
Crazy.
Hey friends, we're just starting out here in season 2, and over the break we've had some really wonderful feedback from our family, friends, and fans. And now we have a favor to ask of you. Please leave us a review and a 5-star rating, ideally, on whatever platform you listen to our pod.
We're trying to grow, and we would love your support, and your review helps others to find the show.
I haven't said this yet. In California, we actually live in one of the most biodiverse regions on Earth for bees. And when I say one of, it's either the number one or maybe the number two.
Wow.
There are so many species of bees just everywhere around us. In California total, we have about 1,600 plus bee species. And in Riverside, there's a guy who used to work at UC Riverside who did this study, so I can say this, but I don't know, it's 300 to 500 species or something just in the city.
Wow.
And bumblebees are not very diverse. There's only 25 different types in the state. But what you should think about is how literally there are thousands of different types of bees here in California. And the typical bee is going to be what I described, a solitary species where the males and females find each other somehow and mate. And then the female collects pollen and some nectar and digs a hole in the ground, lays an egg, does that whole thing. That's a typical bee life. It's not very much like what people think bees are. Right? When we think of bees, we think of those white boxes, we think of honey, we think of
Big colony.
We think of what we saw here with hundreds of bees swarming around. So the typical thing is they're much more like, I don't know, some other solitary wasp or something, which you might be familiar with.
Continuing our walk, I noticed what looked like some purple nightshade on the ground. I pointed it out to Joel, which tees up this next part perfectly.
Chris was noticing this plant over here that might give Leif an opportunity to talk about something. And it's sort of interesting that this is where we saw that carpenter bee.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is this that nightshade? That purple nightshade?
Purple nightshade.
Sure. I have a thing to say about this.
Yeah.
Do you know which one this is, Joel?
Xanthi, yeah.
That's what I would guess, but actually, there's several species and I don't know the difference.
There's two that look
Oh,
almost the
there's a
same.
butterfly right
Oh,
behind you.
look at that, it's attracting your neck. Yeah. The pole.
God. He's like, I want to be caught.
The swallowtail?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a swallowtail.
It's the craziest. He's like, no, I want to go in the
Like
net.
look.
This is actually really
God.
interesting. These flowers don't make nectar, and that animal does not eat pollen.
So what's he looking for?
It's there for nectar. So that is
It was a bust.
what we just saw was an animal that didn't know, and it went to find out, and it found out there's nothing there.
No good.
I was going to tell you, solanums are really cool, and other plants in this family. So tomatoes or lycopersicon, or potatoes or solanum. There's a bunch of different ones where they do not make nectar. So you would expect the nectar right around there. I'm not positive of this for this species, but I'm pretty sure. But they do make a lot of pollen, and the anthers are bright yellow, so they're really obvious to the foragers. They're not hiding it at all. And then if you look closely, you don't see grainy pollen all over the place, right? It's pretty clean. And this is because the pollen in these plants is hidden inside the anthers, and they're called poricidal. And you can see little pores or little holes at the top of each one, just like one little opening.
Oh, wow.
It's like a banana, and you cut off the top of it. And so the pollen is kind of stuck up inside of there, and the bees can't reach inside to get the pollen. So what bumblebees do is they grab the flower, and the same way that I told you they warm up by moving their flight muscles, they do that, and you hear this audible buzz, and the whole thing is shaking. You can see the bee moving all over the place, and that causes the pollen to rain out onto the belly of the bee, and then she uses these appendages on her arms to just sweep it away and put it into the carrying the pollen baskets. So this is a pollen-only plant or flower, so assuming I'm right about that.
Nectar, yeah.
So lots of things eat nectar only, like the swallowtail, and it's just not. It could have been pollinated by that animal, this sort of incidental movement of pollen. But these are things that need a sonicating bee to be pollinated.
Sonicating.
And not all bees can do this.
I love that word.
Yeah, that's
a cool word.
We call it buzz pollination.
Sonication.
But if you read the papers, it's all sonication.
Whoa.
This is a good bumblebee flower.
Yeah.
Honeybees can't do the sonicating. Not all bees can. But watch carpenter bees, watch bumblebees, and you'll see on some flowers they'll sonicate. The literature on this is fascinating.
We actually got that whole moment with the swallowtail butterfly on video. Check out this extra bonus footage on our Patreon page. With 3 tiers to choose from, get this bonus content for as little as 3 putrid little bones. Go to patreon.com/State of the State Parks. All right, back to the show.
When the monkey flower starts blooming out here, have you messed with the monkey flowers?
No.
So the pistil, the female part, her stigma it looks like lips, and you can tap it with your finger and the lips will float.
Oh, cool.
We uploaded a picture of the sticky monkey flower to our website, stateofthestateparks.com, under the Galleries tab, Season 2.
My other question was going to be about the Santa Ana wind, since we also talked about fire. What do they do in a wind event?
When it's too windy, they become less abundant. They're hiding out somewhere. Bumblebees are pretty big and strong flyers, and so they're able to fly in somewhat stronger wind than other types of bees might be. It is a question of economy at some point, where it might be too expensive in terms of sugar to be flying around all day trying to collect sugar, and they'll just take a break and wait it out. That said, I have seen bumblebees do some really amazing things in the wind. Last summer, I was at Kingery. I was up on this big, steep, sort of convex grassland above the ocean, and it was super windy because we're very close to the ocean, like 30 miles an hour or more. Very windy. You couldn't wear a hat, And it was grassland, and there was this narrow little trail that people had trampled. So the distance between the top of the canopy of the grasses and the path was maybe 10 inches or 8 inches. Bumblebees were commuting in this
flyway.
low elevation windbreak, like an inch off the ground. They were just going like this low elevation windbreak.
They figured it out.
Resting on the ground and picking up and going just a little further.
Okay, that's cool.
They lead somewhat complex lives. They learn a lot. They remember a lot. We know that they get better at foraging as they age. So all these things that we think of as being mammalian, certainly vertebrate, we see bees doing. I mean, there's a not crazy piece of research that contends that bumblebees play. You may have seen this. There's like a video of a bee pushing a tiny little soccer ball around. And the guy trained it to do this in order to get access to the food resource. They say that it is actually just play, just like us. My point in bringing that up is that we know that bees learn by imitation. We know that they learn by doing and making mistakes. They do more complex tasks as they get older. Some types of foraging are really more challenging, and the naive bees, it's just not worth their effort because they don't know how to get the thing open and where the nectar is. Whereas when they get older, they might, if they learn how to do it, they can then do it very fast. Nectar robbing is one of these behaviors where it's a learned thing. Some species do it a lot more than others, but once a bee learns to do it, it's this whole new avenue for resource collection. And so, the wind anecdote, it's just something that surprised me.
Yeah.
But they're doing all kinds of things that we're not really perceiving, and they're not just little automatons.
We still haven't caught a bee. Okay, we're headed back to the butterfly garden. Let's see if we can get lucky there. On the way on the ground, we came across what is commonly called coyote melon. It was the perfect segue for Leif to tell us about squash bees.
Squash bees.
So the genus name is Cucurbita or Cucurbita. We have lots of different types of bees, not just honeybees and bumblebees. And about a quarter of them are host plant specialists. They only eat a restricted set of plant pollens. Some of them it's a single plant species, and some of them it's a genus or a family of plants or two different genera. So these plants have a set of bees that only can take pollen from Cucurbita. And they can go to other plants for nectar, but this is the only thing they can eat in nature or on farms. And so they're squash bees, we call them. And they come in 3 different genus groups. They all occur in California. They're really cool because they're important farm pollinators. They nest right near the plants, like Joel just said. And so when you're a farmer, you have to actually manage the pollinators when you're tilling or when you're considering tilling or fertilizing or whatever. And there's this amazing story. One of the species of the bee occurs as far north and east as Ontario and Quebec. And there are no native Cucurbita there. So what are they doing there? They're there entirely dependent on farms and gardens. There's nothing in nature they can eat. Well, I mean, nectar of lots of things, but no pollen that they could reproduce with. And the way they got there is they followed the indigenous people who, as the squash spread north and east, squash actually, we think, moved north and then bent east, sort of southern Canada, and then also through the southeast and then up to the northeast. So there's really good genetic evidence that the bees and the plants followed the people in these like prescribed ways, and that the bees that live in New England and adjacent Quebec on little farms here and there they're just the progeny of these Mexican bees that human beings just interacted with over the last several thousand years.
That's a fun story.
That is so cool.
That's awesome.
Check out a pic of Leif holding a coyote melon at our website, stateofthestateparks.com. Look for the pics of this episode under Gallery Season 2.
You know, Mo, I actually videotaped that whole coyote melon moment with Leif. Let's go ahead and throw that whole unedited moment up on our Patreon page too.
Ooh, more content for the Patreons.
I'm not sure we've talked about honeybees and bumblebees are generalists. They eat many different things. I did mention this. Some bees, like the squash bee, only can eat one kind of pollen. And the majority of bees, they can eat a number of different things. And so they have some flexibility if something doesn't flower in a year or it's late or whatever. But about a quarter of all of the bees are specialists, like we described with the squash bee, to lesser or greater extent. And those bees are heavily dependent on certain types of plants. And so you can see immediately how they can become rare if development scrapes off that plant or that plant becomes rare because of drought or whatever. In California's diversity of bees, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of species are closely, narrowly tied to one or several different types of plants. And so when we think about bee conservation, it's obviously a question of plant conservation also. It's not the majority of bees, but it's a substantial fraction of them that are like this. And so it makes it really fun. You can go to the plants that have specialists and find the specialists there, but you'll never find them anywhere else.
Oh, wow.
And also they tend to have adaptations for working that plant. There's a series of plants called Crameria. What's the common name for those?
Crameria?
It's a Mojave desert plant.
What family is it in?
Crameriaceae. It's a weird little plant. These are plants that make oil in the flower. So they make nectar, they make pollen for their own sexual reproduction and attracting pollinators, but they also secrete oil, just a bunch of oil. There's a bunch of them around the world, and here we've got a few, Crameria being one of them. But the bees that harvest Crameria oil, they have a special little cone on their foreleg that's like they sop up the oil, and then they have another, maybe a mid-leg thing that squeezes pulls the oil off the squeegee. And I'm not even sure how they carry the oil, but my point is that when bees specialize on a plant, they start to develop morphology over great periods of time that fits those flowers. And so you'll see a very long tongue or a very short tongue.
Are you looking for more State of the State Parks content? Well, check us out on the Blue Sky Social app. Totally free, no ads, and a bunch of like-minded nature nerds just like us. Just search for State of the State Parks. Now, back to the show.
Take a look at this red bud here.
Oh, there we go. Look on the right.
Oh, yeah, perfect. So for some, carpenter bees are giant generalists.
With the grace of an Olympic gymnast, Leif dropped his stuff, and in a backhanded swoop, he caught a carpenter bee.
Oh, nice grab.
No
Sometimes
way.
you have to wait.
He caught it.
It was in the sticks, right? And
grab.
So this is a female.
this is a female, yeah. I think, yeah.
So,
Hear it. So with these large bees, yeah, they're busy and buzzy. And to get them out of the net, I'm using this vial. So I take the top off and put your hand in there with the bee, but then grab the vial with the the other hand that's restraining the bee. And then we want to just chase the bee into the corner of the net
Makes sense.
to avoid getting stung.
Clever.
Sometimes the sun is challenging, but
So they have stingers?
oh yes, there we go. You just chase it until it can't go anywhere except into the vial. And now I can take the cap and go in safely. I'm using the fabric of the net as a temporary top to the vial until I can get in there and just kind of slide the cap over and then reverse the net. And now the last thing to do is just to get the net out of the way. Yeah, so
Wow, look
At
at
the
her.
size of her.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Find this picture of this native carpenter bee and all our pics on the stateofthestateparks.com under the Galleries tab, Season 2.
So we know she's female because you can see the pollen basket. The technical name is corbicula. On the hind leg, this big brush of hairs, the black hair, it's just a little bit more brushy on the hind leg. That's how they carry the pollen. These guys, they take dry pollen and they stick it right into that brush, and it's static electricity that holds all the pollen together. That's how they transport it when they fly home.
So the males are the orange ones.
Of one species, the male is bright orange and the female is black. And then the 2 or 3 other carpenter bee species in the state, the male is not bright orange, it's more like the female. And some of them have a black abdomen and a kind of gray, hairy thorax.
Do we have all 3 species down here?
We have Barefoot, which is a smaller one, Californicus sonorina. I bet this is sonorina, which is the one that has the orange male.
Is that the valley?
Yeah.
The common name?
Carpenter bees are amazing. They have, this animal has a specialized little compartment. You won't be able to see it, but on the back of the thorax, right where the thorax meets the abdomen, they have evolved over millennia. They have this little pocket of their exoskeleton that goes inside the body. It's just this little cavity, and it is for mites. So there are mites that live inside that cavity, and they're probably beneficial to the bee.
I was
They
gonna say.
probably scavenge the outside of the bee for
Bits and
microbes
bobs.
or whatever. Mites can be real problems for bees, these pathogenic mites, but these guys have this relationship with mites, and many, if not all, carpenter bee species have these mite domatia built into their bodies. There's
Domatia.
Yeah, as in domicile.
Oh my
One cool
gosh.
thing about carpenter bees. I wanted to also point out, see where the pollen?
Yes.
And I'm going to let it go soon because they don't like to be
Yeah,
cooked
they
up
won't-
in the hot sun.
Yeah.
See how the pollen is all on the underside of the belly?
Yeah, I saw
Of
the
thorax?
yellow.
That is not how she'll carry that pollen home.
Oh.
It just depends on the plant and how they handle the plant. You were talking earlier about plants that tag the bee on the back with the pollen. In this case, she's been foraging on something that's been dropping pollen right onto the belly. And maybe it's this, but maybe it's something else. Anyway, she's going to use her legs to move that pollen into those baskets. And as I said before, this system of like hairs that function like a comb, or there's this little thing in the mid leg that they scrape the foreleg through, and it just pulls all the pollen off of it. So they have adaptations for pollen for powder management, let's say. Yeah.
Bye, buddy. Thank you.
I'll also just point out, no danger of getting stung. They
Yeah.
don't want to sting you. From her perspective, I'm a predator or something, and she's trying to get away.
Just trying to get away.
If you touch them on flowers and squeeze them or something, you'll get stung. And if you get right near the nest, harass them, you'll get stung. But for the most part, you can safely handle them if you want to, and they're far less dangerous than
People think.
what people think. Despite anaphylaxis and death from venom or whatever, but they're pretty safe. to be
That
around.
was so cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see if we can find anything
Yeah, let's do the loop.
else with bees on it here.
That was worth it. Worth it.
Okay, good.
Just about as fast as Leif let go of that carpenter bee, he turned around and snagged a leafcutter bee.
Oh, was that a little blacktail?
No, it's something else.
There was a little fuzzy black and yellow.
You got it?
Yeah.
So this is one of our native bees. This is a good example of a solitary species. And I don't even know exactly what it is, but I know the family that it's in. And then we're going to just trap her in the fabric. When I teach people to do this, I always find myself saying, in your daily life, sometimes control is a pathology, and you like try to let it go a little bit. But when you're dealing with bees, it's like, who has the control? Is it me or the bee?
You must have the control.
And to successfully get them in a vial without getting stung or losing them, you just always maintain, like right now I'm holding the fabric so she can't get past it. But that's just people say.
Those are so cool.
Yeah.
Like a mane.
Good spot.
Okay, so this is a cool bee. This is in the leafcutter bee family.
Oh, cool.
So the main group of them is called Beeeeeutiful. They are the leafcutters.
They really don't like being photographed. if that was out in the wild,
Yeah, they're pretty
it would fly
photographable.
away
They're
from
all like,
your-
no photos, no photos.
I'm pretty sure this is the genus Osmia, but it could, actually not pretty sure.
It has this cool, like,
I know the
fuzzy
family,
hairdo.
and I think I know the genus, but this is a male, and one way we know this is his mustache. This group of bees the males tend to have more facial hair and lighter facial hair than the females. He has proportionally longer antenna than you would expect on a female, and this takes practice, but I can see already he's got male antenna. And then the final thing is this family of bees, most of them are harvest pollen. Some of them are parasites and others, but those that harvest pollen, they carry it on the underside of the abdomen in this dense brush of hair up and down the abdomen. Sometimes the hair is white or yellow, and it contrasts with the black or metallic blue or green of the body. This bee, you can see it's shiny and hairless on the underside of the abdomen. So if I know he's in the Megacylidae family, it's got to be a male if it's not one of the parasitic types, because he has no pollen carrying apparatus. So male bees don't sting, and this type of bee I wouldn't be worried about. The females could sting you, but it's not very painful.
You're holding the bee.
Pulled the bee out of the tube and is holding the bee in the hand.
Yeah,
Cool.
because I am nearsighted, I'll take off my glasses. And so let's see, what do we see here? You can see he's got really large jaws.
Oh,
That's actually the mandibles, or that's the technical name for the jaw. And
he's so cool.
I'm just gonna hold him by one leg.
You got like a fur vest on.
This week's Pinnacle Pick is a pic of Leif holding that leafcutter bee. Find our Pinnacle Picks at thestateofthestateparks.com under the Pinnacle Picks tab.
This group, the Megacylidae, the males will sometimes come out before the females, and the males will be really common, and you can't find the females for maybe a week or so, and they're just out ahead of the females waiting for them. Yeah.
This is like a perfect example of who would think this is a bee.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Look like
All
they
your
fly.
preconceived notions about
Yeah.
honeybees and
it's
everything.
all black.
So what makes it a bee? Well, bees are in one order of insects. They're Hymenoptera, and then they're a group of a couple families within Hymenoptera. So the other Hymenoptera are ants, wasps, and sawflies. So bees are most closely related to some wasps, and the things that make them different are primarily that their ancestors evolved to be vegetarians instead of meat eaters. So virtually every wasp you've ever seen, as a larva, it ate animal protein. That's what they eat. They either eat spiders or caterpillars commonly, or crickets or grasshoppers or rotting meat or whatever. Those are all animal protein, right? Bees are herbivores. They harvest pollen off of plants. There's some exceptions that eat meat, but that's the main behavioral difference, but that means there are all these morphological differences that distinguish bees from all of the other Hymenoptera. So the pollen carrying apparatus, the pollen harvesting kind of things. For whatever reason, bees have branched hairs, like feathers. If you could see with a hand lens or microscope, you could see these little feather-like hairs. Their wasp relatives have straight hairs. These guys also have some straight hairs, but if you look long enough, you'll find a feathered hair on every bee, including ones that look very hairless. There's hair somewhere. So that's a bee thing. There's a whole suite of other morphological characteristics that go with bees that are not, I can't tell you a story about why they're there, but there's like this particular suture on the thorax right on the side there that is this shape in bees, and it's a different shape in wasps.
Oh, interesting.
So they're separate from wasps and ants. In those kinds of ways. They've had millions of years to evolve away from them, but the signature thing about bees is their relationship with plants, and it's the floral relationship. So everything about them is about visiting flowers, about managing plant chemicals from flowers, about competing in flowers, bringing pollen home, all this kind of stuff.
What about like the wings and the other sort of general, like you don't need a hand lens for it. Is there anything in that department that tells us it's a bee?
Yeah, the wings are often used to distinguish the families of bees.
Yep, just that. Bye, buddy.
And I wasn't going to be able to demonstrate it, but that group has a particular signature of the veins in the wings that whole family.
Cool.
Not every family is identified by the wings, but certain ones are. Yeah. So we do look at wings when we're trying to figure out what even is this bee.
That was so
this
cool.
group or that group.
We're freaking out.
So again, 1,600 plus different types like that.
Wow.
So
That's
Isn't
exciting.
there suspicion or an expectation potentially that it's maybe closer to 2,000 in California, but a lot of them haven't been described or
Yes, that's the thing about bees. Many of them haven't even been seen and described yet. Some of them are so small, they're seriously like 3 millimeters in length or something. So they're the size of a large aphid or something. And so most people never see them as bees. And there are hundreds of different types of this one genus that's that size.
That's so crazy.
Have fun. Yeah.
Should we take a picture together?
We totally should.
All right. Action shots.
Well, thank you so much, Leif.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Sorry we didn't see any bumblebees.
Oh,
Are you this guy? And Joel, always wonderful to see. Thank you. Well, thank you so much.
Oh my God, what an absolute pleasure.
Want to shout out to anything that we should know about?
What I want to shout out is this project that I work on, the California Bumblebee Atlas. And this is a community science project, sometimes called citizen science, although it does not have anything to do with citizenship, where people come to me or I find them and we train them in how to handle bees and about bee biology and stuff. And they get on a permit with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And then they go out and do their own surveys where they catch bees and put them in a cooler. And then they photograph the bee after it's chilled. And it takes about 10 minutes for the bee to wake up and just fly away. And then later they send the photographs and their field notes to me, to the Xerces Society. And we identify all the bees for the photos. And so in this way, we can do biodiversity survey work without killing anything. And it's really fun. And you don't have to be a scientist or a professional wildlife biologist or anything like that to join. We have volunteers who are teenagers. We have volunteers who are very aged, people from all walks of life, and it's about as much fun as you can have at a public event.
Yeah, I was like, we should do that. We should do that.
So,
it sounds fun.
If there's an event, I'll try to remember to tell you about it, but you could look at our website and I post them there as I
Okay, well that's fun. Yeah, keep us in mind. That would be awesome. We're down. We're down to get trained. Well, amazing.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Yeah.
much.
Holy cow, what an amazing way to start season 2. Again, join Leif with the Xerces Society for Invertebrates Conservation. Find all their info at xerces.org.
The amount of bee and plant knowledge we got was insane. Plus, we caught 2 native bees. So exciting!
You want to talk about endorphins rush? Just watch Leif catch a few bees. So much fun!
Thanks again to our friend Barefoot Joel Robison from Naturalist for You. He's a local Orange County naturalist giving hikes, talks, and walks that captivate the soul on IG as Naturalist for You.
This was an amazing way to start up season 2. I can't wait for all the state park excitement headed our way. We might be the luckiest people on the planet.
I believe I am going to have to agree.
Thanks again, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
goes. There it goes.
What do bees do when a fire happens? I'm sure they just fly away.
It's the State of the State Parks podcast with Chris and Mo. This episode of State of the State Parks is brought to you by audiobooks.com. State of the State Parks listeners get their first month free and not one but 3 free books. Thinking about making a switch? Go to our website, stateofthestateparks.com, and click the link.